of the new year on Fareed Fitness. Um, in my last video, my weigh-in, I said I was going to do two videos this weekend. One on reflecting on 2021. I've given some thoughts to that, haven't gotten around to doing it yet. I did start, I'm very organized, I'm a very detail-oriented person. Started to put together this spreadsheet listing out all of these detailed goals for 2022 and just decided to scrap it. I feel like it could lead to paralysis by analysis. And a lot of the stuff I was writing down was actually my workout plan. I don't know that I would necessarily call that goal. So decided to scrap it. Wanted to keep things very simple. I have three goals. So let's go through them one by one. So short and sweet. I've said from the start, my first and initial goal was, in terms of my weight, was making my BMI target. When I initially started, I was using an old scale. I used to have another scale, one that had hand calipers and foot calipers, and it came with a BMI chart. I was going to keep it very simple. I listened to a course on nutrition on Audible. I was a 20-hour course. I listened to it maybe 3 or 4 times, and they talked about how BMI is derived and explained why, all the counter arguments against, oh, well, bodybuilders are very muscular, but they have high BMIs and that sort of stuff. And, the instructor on it gave a very simple explanation. It's not about body composition. BMI is about the stress on your heart, whether it's muscle, whether it's fat, whatever it is. A lot of people rail against it. I'm going to trust the science, but it really just is about the stress on your heart. Whether it's muscle, whether it's fat. Obviously, a bodybuilder probably has a much better life outlook than someone who's obese in terms of life longevity, but it still is about the stress on your heart. So I'm going to trust the science. My initial number one goal was not aesthetics. My initial number one goal was, from the start, life longevity. I've said countless times on this channel, I want to blow through my 60s and 70s and into my 80s without spending the night in a hospital. I don't want to be on any medication. I don't want to be having any surgical procedures. I don't want to have one of those giant pill bottles. I don't want to have hypertension, diabetes. I don't want to be dealing with these things. And I knew I was really reaching the breaking point if I started getting into my 50s, especially if I stayed 340 pounds, I was going to be taking decades off of my life. So I'm going to trust the science. So as I started to say, I had a BMI scale. My initial goal had been stating from when I was 340 pounds was 225. Small adjustment. I got my BMI reading off of the CDC website. Is 220. Different sources seem to have different BMI goals, but I'm going to trust the CDC. It's a 5-pound difference, not a 50-pound difference, so not a huge deal. But my number one goal, my first goal of 2022, is to complete my weight loss portion of my journey by March 31st, 2022. I want to be done with this. I am all in on this. I'm really, really locked in on it. I had one meal yesterday. I'm probably gonna have one meal today. I don't know how long I plan to do this, or any rhyme or reason. I said I'd do it Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. But I've gotten such a sense of urgency with this that, I think I'm just going to keep this up. I'll see how it feels once I reintroduce working out, because it's been pretty easy. 3 days this week, I had one meal. My last week of work a couple weeks ago, 5 out of 6 days, I had one meal. Like, I've gotten used to this. It is not an addiction. I'm not anorexic. I'm not going to be 170 pounds eating one meal a day. I'm really just focused on getting under 220. I eat very nutritious meals when I eat once a day. So I don't starve myself and eat McDonald's. I make sure very nutrient dense foods, and I've been having a protein shake and a raw green supplement to make sure I'm getting my antioxidants and phytochemicals when I am. So I make sure that my body has what it needs, but what I need to do is take weight off. And so I'm really going to focus heavily on weight reduction in the first quarter. I want to be done with losing weight by April 1st. I don't want to be talking about losing weight. I don't want to, I'll still do my weekly weigh-ins, but my weekly weigh-ins are going to be focused. I'm not even really going to talk about my weight. I just want to see it maintained, but I don't have a goal of being 210, 205. Like, I just want to stay under 220. And once I get to that April 1st, you will see my focus will be on where I talk about my weight every week. My weekly weigh-ins are going to be about body fat and body fat reduction. But my first goal of 2022 is to end the weight loss journey, like really end the weight loss portion of this and transition onto my second goal. So the second part of the equation, I stated two goals. If you've been following along, you know what my second goal is. I actually mentioned it in the first part of this video. Body fat. The healthy body fat range for someone in their 40s is all over the place. I've seen it as high as 25%. I'm not going to trust that. I'm going to go with the more conservative figure, which I've seen in the range of 13 to 18%. I feel like I've gotten to a place where I've gotten very good about reducing my overall weight. I have not been great about reducing my body fat. And so, my goal, I would say by my birthday, sometime between my birthday and the end of the year, I don't need to set a timeline on this, is to get my body fat under 18%. I have a loosely stated stretch goal of getting my body fat under 20% by my birthday, which is July 25th. If I don't achieve that, but I'm making significant progress, I don't like setting timelines, because if I'm 22% and 218 on July 25th, 2022, I don't want to be in a point where I miss my goal and I'm down and depressed. I will say I've gotten to a point where, unlike years ago, where missing a goal it seems counterintuitive to me where my mindset is at this point, but I would almost quit when I didn't make a goal. But I think I've just gotten so confident, and I've built a lot of confidence in going through this transformation over the last 3 years, that a setback doesn't, push me off course. Like, it's a disappointment, and it usually leads to me ratcheting things up. But I will say I'm going to set the loose goal of, by my birthday, getting my body fat under 20%. That's going to be a challenge. It's going to require doing things differently than what I'm doing. Like, eating one meal a day is not what's going to get me there. I'm going to start eating a full diet again, once the weight loss portion is over. But that's where I need to start tracking my macros. I need to start focusing a hell of a lot more on shaving some of the things out of my diet. I think I've been very good about it, though. So that's where, it's leaving me somewhat challenged. But I will say, in Q2, as long as I can maintain my weight, I do plan to eat more. I do plan to reintroduce cheat meals. I'm going to experiment as long as I don't see my weight going up. Because what I'm doing now with the one meal a day is very difficult. It's not sustainable. I couldn't. This isn't something I'm going to say I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So I want to get to a meal plan where it is sustainable. It doesn't feel like I feel restricted. I don't want to be in a situation where I can't wait to go on vacation so I can binge like I just did a couple weeks ago. I want something that doesn't feel like a challenge. I'm gonna have to live with restrictions, and I've gotten comfortable with it. One meal a day is very short-term thinking. It is really focused on one goal. I'm not too far from it. Like I said, 2 weeks from now, I expect to be under 235, to shave 15 pounds off in about 2.5 months. I'm not gonna commit to doing one meal a day, 7 days a week, but I say I'll probably do it 4 to 5 days a week for Q1. After that, I'm really going to be focused on body fat reduction and growing muscle. So I've got to learn that process. I've learned the weight loss process. I've got to learn the leaning process. And I know that's going to be a lot more about resistance training. That's going to be a lot more about low heart rate cardio. And that's also going to be a lot more about more actively tracking my macros. But my second goal actually is, let's say, body fat under 20% by my birthday. and under 18% by the end of the year. I know that seems really warped, but I don't, I don't know the alchemy of losing. I don't think if I'm 19.9% by July 25th, it's not going to take me until December to get to 18%. Obviously, I don't know what the end result will be. I will say, once I'm under 18%, I don't really have any future goals in terms of actively tracking. I recognize for sport, there may be things I do, but you know, 18% by the end of at some point by the end of this year is the goal for my body fat. The final goal is just an overarching goal. Obviously, I said two goals from the start of this: BMI under 25, body fat in a healthy range. From a mental standpoint, I feel like I've been battling with this for 20 years. It was summer 2001 when I really essentially stopped playing basketball at a competitive, at a competitive level, playing daily, playing 5, 6 days a week when I was in college. I actually made the basketball team at my undergrad school. The coach got fired and a new one came in. The new one acted like a jackass to me. And I knew I wasn't going pro. I was going into my senior year of college, and I kind of let basketball go. And the relevance of that is when I stopped playing basketball, I can't remember my exact weight. I knew I was under 240. I can't remember. I think summer 2001 when I thought I was going to play on the team, I had gotten pretty fit. I may have been 225. I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. But I know I had gotten pretty fit over the summer of 2001. Fall 2001, when I decided I was not going to pursue it anymore, I stopped. And by the end of the next year, I was about 260. And I told you guys the story when on the 100-pound video, summer 2002, I went from about 260 to under 240. And then after that, I had never been under 250 again in 20 years. And it was the first time I got under 250 again was 2020 last year. That's why it was such a big moment for me. I was not under 250 from 2002 until 2020, so 18 years. But I say all that to say it's been a very long period. There was never a time where I was comfortable with being 280, 290, 300 plus pounds. It's just been this thing. It's been a part of my life for over half of my life at this point because I was fat as a kid. That was a 10-year period where I was playing basketball and in shape, but I was a fat kid as well. And I feel like for over half my life, I've been talking about I need to lose weight, I need to get fit. So from a mental standpoint, getting under 220, getting my body fat under 18%, I want to end this transformation. I don't want to be talking about any goals. I don't want to be talking about anything. I preface that with knowing that goals drive me, and I recognize if I get to 18%, let's say by some miracle, this is not a goal. I'm just saying let's say by some miracle, I'm 18% and 217 pounds on my birthday. It's not like I'm going to be like, all right, let's put it in cruise control. I'm just going to run 10 miles a week, live 4 days a week. For sport, I may say, hey, I want to see if I can get a six pack. That stuff is purely for sport. In terms of for health, the reason I set out on this when I was 340 pounds back in 2017 is I was scared I was going to die. I was very much impacted by the death of my stepfather, who died of a heart attack in his 50s. He didn't see 60 years old. My father didn't see 55 years old. And I'm 40 years old in 2017 and 41. I'm 340 pounds. I have a new baby girl, and I'm scared I'm not going to see 60. I'm scared I'm not going to be at her sweet 16. I'm scared I'm not going to be at her wedding. It was a real wake-up call for me. If there was a single thing that drove me, it was definitely my daughter. Wanting to be around for her, wanting to be around for my wife. I did not want my mother to be burying her youngest child because I couldn't control my weight. That was the single number one factor in terms of me turning my fitness around. And it still remains the driving force. I don't want to die young. I don't want to, I don't talk about it very much, but I see my father-in-law. He has these giant pill bottles. He hasn't done well with his health, and I don't want that to be me. I saw he's in his 60s. I saw my grandmother with these things. I've seen a lot of old elderly people with the giant pill bottles that say Monday through Sunday, and it's 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12, 2, 4, 6, 8. And they're just taking this mountain of pills. And I'm like, that could be me in my 50s, taking pills for hypertension, taking pills for diabetes, taking all of these pills when the reality is I can avoid all of this stuff by controlling my own weight, controlling my own diet. And it is very important to me to put an end to this transition and to be at a point where I'm not thinking I gotta get my fitness in order. I still feel that very strongly to this day as I sit here at 240 something pounds. I'm down almost 100 pounds from where I was. I'm sure I'll be under 100 again by next week, Friday, but I still feel that right now. I still feel as strongly now as I did when I was 340. It may sound warped, people don't understand it, but until I can say I've completed it, it's going to be a source of stress, it's going to be a source of concern. And I want to be at a point where if I want to lean out, it's simply for, I'm flexing for the gram, even though I don't have an Instagram account. But it's for sport. It is not for life and death purposes. And I still very much feel like I'm in that phase. And until I'm under 220, I'm gonna be, it's gonna be a source of stress. So I'm very close. It's been essentially since I'd say late 2018 where I really started to start on the push that I was on. 2019, I ran a marathon. I started the year 315. I got down to 277, and because I was not controlling my diet, all of my weight loss was based off of just high levels of activity. As soon as I stopped running, I had a bad injury, an ankle injury that cost me running the Philadelphia Marathon when I had already run the Baltimore, and I was in shape to run another one. All I needed to do was maintain, but had a really bad ankle injury and stopped running. I couldn't run for about a month, and then the marathon was over and I didn't have another race coming up. I ballooned back up to 305, and because my diet was not in order, I ballooned back up. I haven't worked out in 3 weeks, and I'm able to control my weight now. So, I've learned a lot. I'm much better at this than I was a few years ago, but, 2020 was a very successful year. I started the year at 305 and ended at 255. This year, I started the year at 268, ended at 233. And, let's keep making that progress. I have the smallest amount of weight left to lose going into 2022 than I have in any other year. And you know what? I want to be done. I want to complete this process. So that is the most important goal. By this time next year, if I'm recording a goals video for 2023, singular point is to be completed with the transition. If I want to, if next year I'm sitting here talking about I want to get to single digit body fat, that's fine. That is not a life or death issue, is essentially my point. That is for sport. That is for aesthetics. But that is not a function of I don't have optimal health. As long as I'm under 220, and as long as my body fat's under 18%, and as long as my vitamin levels in terms of my blood work, cholesterol, all those sorts of things are in check, I'm going to be doing a very detailed blood panel at least once a year, possibly twice a year. I did one 2 years ago and it was incredibly insightful. But as long as the weight's under 220, as long as the body fat's under 18%, as long as my blood work is healthy, my prostate is clean, colonoscopy, as long as all that stuff is in order, I give myself a great shot at seeing 90, 100 years old. So That's been the goal from the start. I tell my little girl, I look her in her eyes, she has no idea what I'm talking about. I tell her all the time, I'm going to be at your 50th birthday, and if I'm lucky, I'll be at your 60th birthday. But this is where we lay the groundwork for that. So those are my goals for 2022. Reed Fitness, signing off.